looking back at how I grew up as a kid and realizing that my gooning problem was just because I could not channel the energy, the enormous energy I had at the time as a kid. Because recalling back then, I had a lot of energy. I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something. And there was no better means of actually transmuting that energy into something very, very progressive. And I struggled to actually find something worthwhile. But the only thing I could find that could actually help me at that moment, which was a terrible idea, was Gooning. And that was how I fell into watching X-rated movies. And since that time, that I kind of became addicted to Gooning as itself. And since then, I've been trying to retrace my steps back to the way I was before the whole Gooning era. And it all boiled down to the fact that I misfired. I actually would have not have a gooning problem as I had before, but right now it's not really an issue, but it ate me alive. It ate me alive. But it would have not gone to that depth if I had just directed the energy. And that's what happens to a lot of young teens, young people, young men especially. That's one of the main problems. When we are growing up, we usually have so much energy that because we don't have proper guidance or male figures we could look up to that would help us guide us in the right direction, channel that energy to the right things. Because if at that young age I had started doing something, picked up a skill that was that was enough to get obsessed with, gooning would be a problem. Gooning isn't like most. If you watch most people who are really addicted to gooning, it's because at a certain point in their life, a phase in their life where they had so much energy, so much time to do things, the only substitute or alternative they had at that moment was just watching X-rated movies and gooning. And it's crazy. It's crazy. It's a phenomenon that I know is common within young men. It's a phenomenon. And that is why I don't demonize gooning the way people would demonize it. Even someone who is a victim, it will surprise you, someone who is a victim would also be demonizing the gooning, the act of gooning. And if you understand that it's just a misdirected energy, you start to free yourself from the guilt of gooning. Because that guilt is what gets you trapped in it. I don't know why it works that way, but it's sometimes I try to think about it, it seems like it's mysterious. But that guilt just makes you locked in. And it's crippling. It has a crippling effect. But when you can see past the guilt by understanding that this is what is your problem, understanding the root cause of your problem, you start to have empathy on yourself, and you start to understand that with time freedom starts to happen naturally, because that rewiring process of your thoughts is taking place. It's now a process, and it takes time depending on individuals and depending on how far you have gone in your gooning problem, because it is actually a serious, terrible addiction. And when you get into it, it's so hard. It takes you and God to actually surpass that level of addiction. So most men who are suffering from gooning right now, I would encourage you, find something greater than that addiction. Find something doing. Engage yourself with it. Engage yourself with it. Be obsessed with it. Because once a particular obsession is more than another obsession, the greater obsession will thrive, will grow, and the lesser obsession will die over time. So you must find a higher obsession that will replace your gooning obsession or your gooning addiction. Any of them. And once you start to understand it is just a form of misdirected energy, you will gain freedom. You will gain freedom over time. You will gain freedom. So have empathy for yourself. Have empathy for yourself, because what we want is absolute freedom from the addiction of gooning. Have empathy on yourself. You find yourself doing it, have empathy on yourself. Forgive yourself, move on. Don't allow the guilt to make things worse. Don't allow the guilt to deepen your addiction, but instead, if you fall, you rise again and you move on with life. So guys, we'll see in the next video and we have some more. Thank you so much for your time, and as always, stay blessed guys. Bye.